Marcus Reed rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the monitoring screen inside Horizon 9's observation deck. The endless field of asteroids stretched before him, twinkling with occasional flashes of light that most would dismiss as simple radiation. But Marcus knew better. He had spent 3 years on this frontier research station, and never had he seen energy patterns quite like these. "Computer, run analysis pattern Delta 7 on Sector 4B again," he said, reaching for his lukewarm coffee. The bitter taste made him grimace, but after 16 hours at his post, he needed every drop he could get. The holographic display lit up with new data streams, casting a blue glow across his face. What he saw made him sit up straight, suddenly wide awake. The energy signatures were unlike anything recorded in the galactic database. "This can't be right," he muttered, fingers flying across the control panel. "Computer, confirm these readings are not equipment malfunction." "Confirmed. All systems operating at optimal efficiency. Energy pattern appears to be biological in origin." Marcus's heart raced. A new life form, out here in the frontier. The asteroids had been declared empty of complex life forms years ago. Yet these readings suggested something massive, something alive, and something that defied every conventional understanding of space-based life. He was about to call for a probe launch when his communication panel lit up with an urgent message from the Galactic Council. The stern face of Council member Blake filled his screen. "This is an emergency broadcast to all stations in the Outer Rim. We have confirmed reports of a highly dangerous predatory species in your vicinity. 3 research vessels have been destroyed in the past month. No survivors. All stations are ordered to maintain distance and report any unusual energy signatures immediately." Marcus looked back at his readings, then at the warning message. The timestamps matched perfectly with his discoveries. His hand hovered over the report button, but something made him hesitate. The energy patterns he was seeing didn't match typical predatory behavior. They were too regular, too structured, almost like a patrol pattern. Against his better judgment, he began mapping the destroyed ship's locations against the energy signature movements. What he found made him lean back in his chair, mind racing with possibilities. "Computer, show me the reactor status of each destroyed vessel at the time of their last transmission." The data appeared before him, and Marcus felt his breath catch. Each ship had shown signs of critical reactor failure just before encountering the mysterious entity. The creature hadn't been hunting them. It had been moving towards dangerous energy signatures. The observation deck's door slid open with a soft hiss. "Reed, your shift ended 2 hours ago," came the gruff voice of Station Director Torres. "What are you still doing here?" Marcus turned, excitement clear on his face despite his exhaustion. "Sir, I need to show you something. These readings I've been tracking. I don't think we're dealing with a simple predator." Torres walked over, his weathered face illuminated by the screens. "The Council's warning was pretty clear, Marcus. Whatever's out there has already killed dozens of people. But what if we're wrong?" Marcus pulled up his analysis. "Look at these patterns. The energy signatures always appear near dangerous radiation levels. What if this creature isn't hunting for food? What if it's responding to threats?" Torres studied the data, his frown deepening. "Even if you're right, the Council's orders stand. We're not equipped to handle first contact with a potentially hostile species." A sudden alert cut through their conversation. Warning lights bathed the deck in red as the computer announced, "Warning. Distress signal detected in Sector 4B civilian mining vessel reports critical reactor failure." Marcus and Torres exchanged looks. The mining vessel's location lined up perfectly with the creature's predicted patrol route. "Sir," Marcus said quietly, "we might be about to witness either a tragedy or a revelation. Please, let me monitor this." Torres hesitated, years of experience warring with scientific curiosity. Finally, he nodded. "Monitor only, Reed. No intervention." But as Marcus watched the energy signatures converge on the troubled mining vessel, he knew that simply watching might not be enough. Sometimes, understanding required action, even in the face of fear. He began preparing a research probe, hoping he wasn't about to make a terrible mistake. The mining vessel's distress signal grew stronger as Marcus guided his small research probe through the asteroid field. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart pounded against his ribs. Director Torres's last words still rang in his ears. "You have 1 hour, Reed. After that, I'm reporting everything to the Council." Red warning lights flashed across his control panel. The radiation levels here were much higher than expected, enough to fry his probe's systems if he stayed too long. The mining vessel's reactor must have been in worse shape than they thought. "Computer, how long until complete system failure?" Marcus asked, scanning the darkness ahead. "Approximately 12 minutes until radiation damage becomes critical." A flash of blue light caught his attention. Something massive moved between the asteroids, its crystalline body reflecting the distant starlight. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. The creature was beautiful. Its body was like living diamond, with patterns of light flowing through its transparent form. The probe's sensors went crazy. The creature was easily the size of a small ship, its body made of some unknown material that both absorbed and reflected energy. As Marcus watched, it turned toward the struggling mining vessel. "No hostile movements," Marcus muttered to himself, recording everything. "Just like I thought. It's responding to the radiation." The mining vessel's crew had spotted the creature. Their panic was clear in their broadcast. "Unknown entity approaching. Please, someone help. Our weapons aren't responding." Marcus opened a communication channel. "Mining vessel, this is Marcus Reed from Research Station Horizon 9. Do not fire. I repeat, do not fire. The creature is not hostile." "Are you crazy?" came the response. "That thing has destroyed 3 ships." Before Marcus could reply, the creature moved. Its crystalline body pulsed with light, and Marcus's instruments detected a massive energy surge. The mining vessel's crew screamed over the comm, but not in pain. The radiation levels," one of them said in disbelief. "They're dropping." Marcus watched in amazement as the creature wrapped itself around the vessel's engine section. The deadly radiation was being absorbed directly into its crystalline body, converted into the beautiful patterns of light flowing through its form. Then something went wrong. A piece of debris from the asteroid field struck the creature's side, creating a visible crack in its structure. The creature recoiled, releasing a pulse of electromagnetic energy that sent Marcus's probe spinning. "Computer, stabilize," Marcus commanded, fighting with the controls. When he regained control, he saw the creature drifting, obviously injured. The mining vessel was already fleeing, its crew too frightened to understand what had really happened. Marcus had a choice to make. His probe's radiation shielding was failing, and he had only minutes before he needed to retreat. But the creature was hurt while saving others. "Computer, do we have any repair nanites on board?" "Affirmative. Emergency repair kit contains standard repair nanites for hull breaches." Marcus piloted his probe closer to the wounded creature. It made no aggressive moves, though lights still pulsed weakly through its body. Up close, he could see that its crystalline structure was far more complex than he'd initially thought, with layers upon layers of intricate patterns. "I hope you can understand that I want to help," Marcus said softly, though he knew the creature couldn't hear him through space. He released the repair nanites toward the crack in its structure. The creature stayed perfectly still as the nanites went to work. After a few tense moments, the crack began to seal itself, the crystalline material knitting back together. Then something extraordinary happened. The creature moved closer to Marcus's probe, its massive body dwarfing his small vessel. But instead of attacking, it began to emit patterns of light, complex, rhythmic sequences that Marcus recognized as deliberate communication. "Computer, begin recording light patterns and search for any recognizable sequences." The creature continued its light show, and Marcus noticed it was repeating certain patterns. He felt a thrill of excitement. This wasn't just a predator or even just a radiation-eating space creature. This was an intelligent being trying to communicate. His probe's warning system blared. Critical radiation exposure in 1 minute. Marcus knew he had to leave, but he couldn't just abandon this discovery. He needed the creature to understand he would return. He programmed his probe's external lights to flash in a simple pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. The universal distress signal, SOS, converted to light. The creature paused its own light show. Then, to Marcus's amazement, it repeated his pattern perfectly. "I'll come back," Marcus promised as he turned his probe toward home. "I'll find a way to talk to you." Behind him, the creature flashed its lights once more. The same SOS pattern, like a farewell and a promise of its own. Marcus hadn't slept in 36 hours, but he couldn't stop working. His lab on Horizon 9 was covered in holographic displays showing light pattern analyses and radiation readings. He had named the crystalline creature Aurora, after the beautiful lights that flowed through its body. "Playback sequence 17 again," he told the computer, rubbing his eyes. The recorded light patterns from his encounter with Aurora danced across the screen. Director Torres walked in, carrying 2 cups of fresh coffee. "You look terrible. Read." "Thanks," Marcus said, taking one of the cups gratefully. "But look at this. The patterns aren't random. There's a clear structure here, almost like sentences." Torres studied the display. "The council isn't happy. They're sending investigators. Then we need to work faster." Marcus pulled up another screen. "I've analyzed the wreckage of those 3 destroyed research vessels. Every single one had critical reactor problems before they encountered Aurora's species. They weren't hunting, sir. They were trying to prevent disasters." "That's a nice theory," Torres said, "but we need proof." A sudden alert interrupted them. "Warning. Dangerous radiation surge detected in Sector 7C cause. Damaged cargo vessel reactor core." Marcus jumped to his feet. That's where Aurora was patrolling. "Computer, show me the cargo vessel's trajectory." The map showed the vessel heading straight for a populated space lane. If its reactor exploded there, hundreds could die. "Sir," Marcus turned to Torres, "this is our chance to prove what Aurora's species really does. Let me take a research ship out there. One with a working reactor and full recording capabilities." Torres frowned. "The Council ordered." "The Council is wrong." Marcus pointed to his data. "These creatures have been protecting us all along. We just couldn't understand them." After a long moment, Torres nodded. "Take research vessel Echo 3. But be careful, Reed. I'm not explaining to your mother if you get yourself killed." 20 minutes later, Marcus piloted Echo 3 toward the damaged cargo vessel. His ship's sensors detected Aurora's familiar energy signature nearby. He activated his new communication system, a series of powerful lights arranged to mimic Aurora's patterns. He flashed a simple greeting, the pattern he'd decoded from their last meeting. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then Aurora appeared, her crystalline body glowing with answering patterns. "Beautiful," Marcus breathed. He transmitted another sequence, indicating the cargo vessel's danger. Aurora's response was immediate, more complex patterns that his computer quickly analyzed. "Pattern match found," the computer announced. "Similar sequences indicate. Warning, danger, help needed." Marcus watched in amazement as Aurora approached the cargo vessel. But this time, instead of just absorbing the radiation, she positioned herself differently. Her patterns changed to something new. "That's it," Marcus whispered. "She's teaching us. Computer, analyze new pattern sequence." The computer worked for a moment. Preliminary translation. "Move away, danger zone." Marcus quickly broadcasted to the cargo vessel. "This is research vessel Echo 3. You need to evacuate the engine section immediately. Clear all personnel from that area." The cargo vessel's captain responded. "But the radiation. Trust me, please." Once the engine section was clear, Aurora moved in. But instead of just absorbing the radiation like before, She used her crystalline body to contain the failing reactor core. The radiation levels dropped to zero as she channeled the energy through her body in a controlled way. Marcus recorded everything, his hands shaking with excitement. "Do you see this, Director? She's not just absorbing the radiation. She's teaching us how her species handles these disasters. They're not predators, they're guardians." Aurora finished stabilizing the reactor and drifted toward Echo 3. Her light patterns were stronger now, more complex. Marcus's computer worked to decode them. "Partial translation," the computer said. "Pattern indicates more danger, more help needed. Follow." Marcus looked at his instruments. Aurora was right. There were other radiation threats in nearby sectors, other ships that needed help, other chances to prove what these creatures really were. He opened a channel to Horizon 9. "Director, I'm going to be a little late coming back. Aurora's offering to show us more. I think she wants to teach us how to help." Through his view screen, Marcus watched Aurora's lights pulse gently, waiting for his response. He had started this mission hoping to understand a predator. Instead, he had found something far more valuable. A friend who could help humanity become better guardians of space. 2 weeks had passed since Marcus's first encounter with Aurora, and the observation deck of Horizon 9 looked more like a light show than a research station. Marcus had installed special panels that could recreate Aurora's light patterns, and the crystalline being now regularly visited the station to communicate. "The radiation surge will hit in approximately 6 hours, Marcus explained to Director Torres, pointing to the storm predictions on his screen. "But Aurora says her people can help us redirect it." Torres watched as Aurora floated outside the station's main viewport, her crystalline body glowing with complex patterns. "You can understand everything," she says now. "Not everything," Marcus admitted, "but enough. Watch this." He activated the light panels in a specific sequence. Aurora immediately responded, her body shifting position to better face the station. "What did you say to her?" Torres asked. "I asked her about her family." Marcus smiled as Aurora's lights danced in response. "She's teaching me about her species. They live in family groups called pods, and they've been protecting space travelers from radiation dangers for thousands of years." The computer translated Aurora's patterns. "Many pods patrol space, keep ships safe. This is our purpose." "Remarkable," Torres muttered. "And to think we believed they were hunting us." A new alert flashed on the screen. Marcus quickly read the incoming data and frowned. "Sir, there's a problem. The radiation storm is moving faster than predicted. We only have 2 hours, not 6. Aurora's lights pulsed rapidly. The computer translated. "Call others. Need pod help." Marcus worked at his console, adjusting the external light arrays to maximum power. "She's going to summon her pod to help protect the station." They watched in awe as Aurora released a brilliant burst of light into space. Within minutes, more crystalline beings appeared, each one unique in its pattern of internal lights, but similar in their diamond-like structure. "How many are there?" Torres whispered. 5 others, Marcus said, checking his instruments. "Aurora says this is her whole family pod." The crystalline beings moved in perfect coordination, positioning themselves around the station like a protective shield. Their bodies began to glow brighter as the radiation storm approached. Marcus's console beeped with an incoming transmission. "Sir, other stations in the sector are seeing this. They're asking what's happening." "Show them," Torres said firmly. "Show everyone. It's time the galaxy knew the truth about these creatures." Marcus activated the station's external cameras, broadcasting the scene to all nearby stations and ships. As the radiation storm hit, Aurora and her pod began to work. It was like watching a dance. The crystalline beings moved in harmony, their bodies absorbing and channeling the deadly radiation. Where the storm would have torn through the station's shields, it instead flowed through Aurora and her family, being transformed into beautiful patterns of light. "Energy readings are stable," Marcus reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. They're not just blocking the radiation, they're converting it into safe energy. Aurora's showing me how they do it. Through the viewport, Aurora's lights pulsed in a new pattern. The computer translated, "Marcus, friend, we teach, humans learn. Together better." For 3 hours, Aurora's pod protected the station, demonstrating their natural ability to handle dangerous space phenomena. When the storm finally passed, other stations began reporting in. They had all witnessed the incredible display of cooperation between humans and the supposedly deadly predators. "The Council's going to have a hard time ignoring this," Torres said with a satisfied smile. Marcus nodded, watching as Aurora drifted closer to the viewport. Her internal lights had shifted to a gentle, peaceful pattern he had learned meant happiness. "You know what amazes me most," he said quietly. "We were so wrong about them, but they never gave up on us. Even after we attacked them, called them predators, they kept trying to protect us." Aurora's lights pulsed one more time. The computer's translation was simple but powerful. "All life precious, worth protecting, worth understanding." Marcus placed his hand against the viewport, and Aurora moved closer, her crystalline form glowing softly in response. In that moment, he realized that this wasn't just a scientific breakthrough or a diplomatic victory. It was something far more important, proof that understanding could overcome fear, and that friendship could bridge even the widest gaps between species. The warning sirens of Horizon 9 blared to life, waking Marcus from his short nap at his research station. Red emergency lights flashed throughout the observation deck as Director Torres rushed in. "Military ships," Torres said, his face grim. 12 of them, heavily armed. "They're saying the Council sent them." Marcus jumped to his feet, checking his screens. Aurora and her pod were still nearby, helping to map radiation fields in the sector. "We need to warn them." Too late, Torres pointed to the radar. "Look." The military fleet had already surrounded the station in an attack formation. A harsh voice came through the communication system. "This is Commander Wilson of the Galactic Defense Force. You are harboring dangerous predatory life forms. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." Marcus grabbed the communications controls. "Commander, wait. These beings aren't dangerous. They're helping us. We have proof." "Your proof is denied," Wilson cut him off. "We have footage of these creatures destroying ships. The Council has ordered their elimination to protect shipping lanes." Through the viewport, Marcus could see Aurora and her pod reacting to the military presence. But instead of fleeing or attacking, they stayed in their protective formation around the station. "Sir," one of the bridge officers called to Commander Wilson, "the creatures are. They're not moving to attack. They appear to be shielding the research station." "It's what they do," Marcus said quickly. "They protect us. Those ships they supposedly destroyed. They were actually saving them from reactor breaches. Please, just let me show you the data." There was a long pause. Then Commander Wilson spoke again, his voice cold. "You have 5 minutes to present your evidence. After that, we open fire." Marcus worked frantically, sending over all his research data, the recordings of Aurora's pod protecting the station from the radiation storm, and the translation progress he'd made with their light-based language. 4 minutes, Wilson announced. Suddenly, every alarm on the station went crazy. Massive radiation surge detected. The computer warned. Source: nearby star showing signs of critical instability. Marcus's blood ran cold as he checked the readings. The local star was having some kind of massive solar event. The radiation levels would be lethal to every ship in the sector. "All ships, pull back," Torres ordered. "That radiation wave will fry our shields." But Aurora and her pod moved closer to the station, their lights pulsing in urgent patterns. The computer translated, "We protect. Show them truth." "Commander Wilson," Marcus called desperately, "you're about to see what these beings really do. Everyone, watch." The radiation wave hit like a tsunami of deadly energy. Aurora's pod formed a tight circle around both the station and the military ships. Their crystalline bodies began to glow brighter than ever before as they absorbed the massive radiation surge. Inside the station, Marcus and Taurus watched their instruments in amazement. "They're not just blocking it," Marcus said in awe. "They're creating a safe zone for all of us. They're protecting everyone, even the ships that came to destroy them." Through the viewport, they could see Aurora's pod straining with the effort. The radiation levels were higher than anything they'd handled before, but still they held their position, their bodies glowing like small suns as they converted the deadly energy into harmless light. Commander Wilson's voice came through again, but this time it was different. Softer, amazed. They're saving us. All of us. That's what they've always done," Marcus replied quietly. "We just couldn't see it before." The radiation storm lasted for 10 more minutes. When it finally passed, Aurora's pods slowly relaxed their formation, their lights pulsing weakly from the enormous effort. But they had done it. Not a single ship had been lost. "Stand down all weapons," Commander Wilson ordered his fleet. "Research Station Horizon 9. I believe we need to talk. The Council needs to know what really happened here." Marcus smiled as Aurora drifted closer to the station, her lights forming the simple pattern he now recognized as friend. Sometimes, he thought, it took a crisis to reveal the truth. And sometimes, the most dangerous moment could become the perfect chance to prove that friendship and trust were stronger than fear. The observation deck of Horizon 9 was crowded with people. Commander Wilson stood next to Director Taurus, watching as Marcus worked with Aurora to demonstrate their new radiation detection system. 3 council members observed through holographic projections, their faces showing growing interest. "The star's instability wasn't a one-time event," Marcus explained, pointing to the data streams. "Aurora's pod has detected similar radiation buildups in 12 other systems. We're looking at a potential disaster." Aurora's lights pulsed quickly, and the computer translated. "Many ships in danger. Many lives at risk. We can help. How many of your kind exist?" One of the council members asked, speaking through Marcus's translation system. Aurora's response came in complex patterns of light. "Many pods, hundreds patrol space. All want to help. All protect life." Commander Wilson stepped forward. "After what I saw them do during the radiation storm, I believe them. One pod saved my entire fleet. Imagine what we could do with hundreds of them working with us." The council members spoke quietly among themselves. Finally, the lead counselor turned to address the room. "These beings have proven themselves by actions, not just words. But the scale of cooperation you're suggesting is unprecedented." Marcus felt a moment of worry, but then he saw Aurora's lights change to a pattern he recognized. It meant confidence, certainty. She wanted to show them something. "Council members," Marcus said, "Aurora wants to demonstrate what's possible. Her pod has already called others to help." The station's sensors lit up with new contacts. Through the viewport, they watched in amazement as more crystalline beings appeared from deep space. Not just 1 or 2 pods, but dozens of them. 57 pods responding, the computer announced. Total count, 342 individual beings. The crystalline creatures moved in perfect harmony, spreading out around the station in a complex pattern. Their bodies began to pulse with synchronized light, creating a network of energy that the station's sensors could barely comprehend. "They're creating a detection grid," Marcus explained excitedly. "They can sense radiation patterns across entire sectors of space. Look." The main screen filled with new data as the crystalline beings shared their awareness. Red dots appeared throughout the sector map, showing potential radiation dangers that human sensors had never detected. "These are all ships with developing reactor problems," Marcus continued. "Problems that could become disasters without warning. Aurora's people can spot them days or even weeks before our instruments." Commander Wilson studied the map carefully. Some of these ships are in heavily populated areas. If their reactors went critical, Exactly, Marcus said. But with Aurora's people helping us, we can prevent those disasters before they happen. The council members watched as the crystalline beings demonstrated their abilities. Working together, they could create vast networks of radiation protection, guide ships safely through dangerous areas, and even help stabilize failing reactors. We've been calling them predators, Marcus said softly, but they're actually guardians. They've been trying to protect us all along. Now they're offering to do it openly, working with us instead of having to hide. Aurora drifted closer to the viewport, her lights forming clear, simple patterns. The computer translated. Humans understand now. No more fear. Work together. Save all. The lead counselor stood straighter in his holographic form. What you've shown us today changes everything we thought we knew. These beings aren't just intelligent. They're essential to the safety of our space lanes. They're more than that, Marcus added. They're friends who never gave up on us, even when we gave them every reason to. They kept trying to help, kept trying to show us the truth, no matter how many times we pushed them away. Aurora's response was immediate, her lights bright and clear. Friendship stronger than fear. Understanding stronger than darkness. Together, make space safe for all life. The council members nodded in agreement. The lead counselor spoke again. We need to formalize this alliance immediately. These beings, we should give them a proper name in our records. Any suggestions? Marcus looked at Aurora, remembering how she and her pod had stood against the radiation storm to protect even those who had come to destroy them. They call themselves guardians, he said. I think it's time we did too. Around the station, hundreds of crystalline beings glowed with patterns of agreement, their lights spreading hope across the darkness of space. 1 year had passed since the day Aurora's people revealed themselves to the council. The observation deck of Horizon 9 looked very different now. New sections had been added to accommodate the steady stream of visitors from across the galaxy who came to learn about the Stellar Guardians, as Aurora's species was now officially known. Marcus stood at his familiar spot by the viewport, watching Aurora teach a group of young human scientists how to read the complex patterns of light that showed radiation dangers in space. Her lights pulsed patiently as the students practiced with their own light panels. They're learning faster than you did, Director Torres said, joining him at the window. Marcus laughed. That's because I had to figure it out from scratch. Now we have proper teaching methods. He looked down at the small crystal badge on his uniform, the symbol of his position as chief diplomat to the Stellar Guardians. Outside, more crystalline beings drifted past the station, their bodies glowing with the beautiful patterns that had once caused so much fear. Now they were a common sight in shipping lanes across the galaxy, working openly with space traffic control to guide ships safely through dangerous areas. Report from the Central Shipping Authority, Torres said, checking his datapad. Accidents from reactor failures are down 98% since the alliance began. The Guardians have saved more lives in 1 year than we can count. Aurora finished her lesson and floated closer to Marcus's window. Her lights formed patterns that he could now read as easily as written words. Show them, new project. Marcus nodded, turning to Torres. Aurora wants to demonstrate what we've been working on. Remember those radiation storms from the unstable star? He led Torres to a new section of the observation deck, where a massive holographic display showed a map of nearby star systems. Hundreds of stellar guardians were visible on the map, positioned in a huge network around dangerous radiation sources. We're not just preventing accidents anymore, Marcus explained. The Guardians are teaching us how to stabilize dangerous stars. They can absorb and redirect radiation on a stellar scale. Watch this. Aurora signaled to her pod, and the map came alive with activity. The Guardians moved in coordinated patterns, their bodies channeling massive streams of radiation away from populated areas. Stars that had been marked as dangerous were slowly returning to safer levels of activity. Incredible, Torres whispered. They're not just protecting ships, they're making entire regions of space safer to live in. A group of new Guardians appeared on the map, their lights showing patterns that Marcus recognized as belonging to young ones. Aurora's lights flickered with pride as she explained, "New generation learns from humans too. Together we grow stronger." "That's the most amazing part," Marcus said. "They're adapting their abilities based on what they learn from us, just as we're learning from them. Every day we find new ways to work together." The station's communication system activated with an incoming message from the Council. Monthly report received. The Guardian-Human Alliance continues to exceed all expectations. Request permission to expand the education program to 20 more stations. "Permission granted," Torres replied. "We'll send training teams right away." Marcus watched as Aurora's lights shifted to show happiness. A year ago, she had been considered the galaxy's most lethal predator. Now she was a teacher, a protector, and a bridge between species. Her kind had moved from being feared to being celebrated, all because someone took the time to look past appearances and try to understand. "You know what I learned from all this," Marcus said to Torres as they watched the Guardians continue their work. "The most dangerous thing in the galaxy isn't some powerful alien species or deadly radiation storm. It's the assumption that different means dangerous. The moment we let go of that fear, everything changed." Aurora's response came in clear, bright patterns. "Fear makes darkness. Understanding makes light. Humans taught us this too." Outside the viewport, more ships were arriving at the station. Vessels from dozens of different species, all coming to learn from and work with the Guardians. Each one was a reminder that the greatest discoveries often come not from conquering or controlling, but from having the courage to reach out in friendship to those we once feared. Marcus placed his hand against the viewport, and Aurora's crystalline form glowed in response, just as it had during their first meeting. But now they were no longer alone in their understanding. Across the galaxy, thousands of others, human and Guardian alike, were learning the same lesson: that true strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the wisdom to protect and the courage to understand.